How dare you continue to look away?
Welcome to the circuit. Welcome aboard. To this morning, the topic is going to be how things have evolved since I was young. That's in the 1960s, and now in we call it metal cutting. First of all, when I was young, like 14, 15 years old, I didn't have much money, and my father didn't have nothing to cut metal with, eh? So I had a summer job, and I went and bought a set of, forget the name. I probably have pieces left of it, eh? Was my first oxyacetylene torches. So I bought that, and I had what we used to do then to weld, because I didn't have an electric welder then, eh? Well, I'll talk to you about my electric welder after we talk about well, we'll split it up more or less. We used to weld metal, but was with the oxyacetylene torch, and we'd take a welding tip, and we'd heat it cherry red, and the rod, we didn't have no flux, eh? So you just heated it till start to see the sparkles there, and then you take a coat hanger, and you just, all in all, for the price that it costs, it was a good alternative, and it was strong too. I remember we used to weld the exhaust with that. That's you try that with anything, and you're gonna see how far you go. Well, you can do it now, but in those days it was something when you could weld an exhaust, and this coat hanger business was a good deal then, eh? And things evolved, and eventually we got to buy some brass with the flux on it, and we got away from the coat hanger, let's say. I'd be curious to try with the TIG, because with the TIG you could get the heat, and see if you could melt some coat hanger in there. But I'm not in that yet. It's coming. I'm thinking about it, eh? Cutting metal. That was a whole ball of wax by itself. The old hacksaw got quite a workout then. Went through quite a few blades. We never, well, we cut with the oxyacetylene, but we didn't have no, well, I took out a few samples here. These real thin blades, zip cut by Walter. That's the type I buy. I buy them by 50, the case full, it was 50, I think. 25 this one. I one time I had a sleeve 100. These depends how much money I got in my pocket, eh? When I go and buy them. But now with the small grinders, eh? You can do anything you want. They got the little disc sanding disc. It's segmented sanding disc, and you just this does a good job too on the small grinders, like small as in this and that. The battery ones that had obsoleted the extension ones to a certain extent. You can't replace an extension or a 110 volt operated grinder when you're into a lot of work, because your batteries eventually are going to let you down. I have a few more. I used to have when I was younger. I remember buying two. They were Walter little grinders like that, but they drive at 12,000 RPM, I think they had, and they were they had a circuit, electronic circuit in there. They were like the top, eh? But then for $700, I this one here, they call it a Dakota, eh? It's a brush type, made in China probably. Costs all of about $30, eh? So why were the other ones so expensive, eh? Yeah, I wanted just to give you an eyeball on the old ones, but I gotta take you off the. Hang on, it'll be shaky there for a second. I just wanna show you. It's in the crate up there. Hang on, right up there. Can you see the? Oops, see the handle right there? And I don't know if you can. Hang on. This is a monster, eh? Oops. Can you see in there? Look at the size. Look at the size. Can you tell the size of this? Like, this is big. Eh? That's the grinders we had in the day, eh? And put you back on the stand here. Yeah, that's the type of grinder we had in the day, and the disc, okay? Well, as a matter of fact, here the metal part that goes on on the flange of the grinder is still in this disc. Look at this. Talk about a grinding disc, eh? Like you could do some serious business. After a while, we got to the zip cuts, eh? With that grinder, but let me tell you something, eh? Like, that grinder don't got no guard on it, eh? You put that on there, start cutting metal, you watch your fingers, because you'll be minus a few, eh? But anyways, now it's the metal cutting business has evolved a lot. Now they have the plasma cutters. Like if I would have played my cards right, I could show you one. But okay, I'll tell you a little story. My younger brother by a year, he's got a kitchen commercial kitchen hood fabrication business, eh? And he builds and installs the hoods for commercial kitchens, stainless steel, ductwork, fans. Anyways, and he had a plasma cutter, and he asked me if I knew anything about that, eh? Because he had brought it to a company that sells all the welding equipment, eh? He brought it back to them because it wasn't working anymore, and he says, you want it? I said, why? Well, what's wrong with it? He says, well, I brought it back for them to fix it, and they said it can't be fixed. So I bought another one. Well, I'll bring it over. I took it apart. I started doing some tests, eh? And right where the power comes into the unit, not far in the beginning there, you look on the circuit board, it's electronic, eh? Start doing some testing. It's a little fuse that's soldered right into the circuit, but you can tell it's a fuse, eh? So I test on each side and it's burnt. So I just take another fuse of equivalent value and I solder into the circuit, plug it in, turn it on. I tried it. Works 100%. So I called my brother. I said, look, I says, I fixed the plasma cutter. I says, I'll give it back to you. But there's one condition. You you gotta tell that company, you gotta give them shit. The company that told you that it couldn't be fixed because there was just a blown fuse. So it's just, I'm telling this story because it's just to say that these companies, they're not in the business of fixing anything. Like this was an easy fix, eh? Like 10 minutes and it was done, eh? But they want to sell you a new machine. They're not interested. You bring it back, you may as well throw it in that garbage. Or take a look at it yourself because they're not interested in fixing it. They're interested in selling you a new machine. Anyways, so, okay. That's plasma cutters. There's carbon arc. I haven't seen that too much on the internet. I've seen it on jobs, okay? They're big, 25, 30 feet across, these big stainless steel tanks, and they had to cut some of the metal, and they'd use carbon arc, like it was air. They had a big compressor outside, and they had two carbons, and they're cutting into through the stainless. The stainless was a quarter-inch thick, eh? And that was noisy. Oh my God! But that got to see how that worked. And one thing that I found very interesting is carbon, and they're blowing metal onto a shaft. I seen the machinists do this, eh? Like it's a shaft. They have it on just a manual to turn the shaft, and it's not on a lathe because a lathe would be muffed up once you're finished the job. But the shaft is ruined, okay, and they don't have enough metal. So instead of, there's probably other work like keyways and treads and whatever on the, and we're not talking a small shaft, 1 inch shaft, we're talking a 2.5 inch shaft, 3 inch shaft, something like that. And so I see it was a machinist that was doing this, and it was blowing metal on the shaft. The shaft was red, and the metal, it'd be sticking on it. It's probably a whole procedure, eh? Like they probably prepare it for, I don't know the integrities of it, but I know they can build up a shaft by spraying it, and carbons are involved in this process. Eh? So I found that kind of interesting. Anyways, it's just to say that things have evolved a lot. Now we have the little grinders. We still have the oxyacetylene, but I could show you in the back there. I have a small oxygen in the tanks I own, and you only pay for the refill. You don't pay for the tanks, because if you get a contract, it costs you an arm. Well, here in Canada, anyways, it costs you an arm and a leg, and I don't hardly use it anymore. Eh? I think the acetylene, it's a plumbing B tank that I have, and because I have for doing the plumbing, I have just a normal B tank hose, and so I hook it up to that. And for the oxygen is just a normal oxygen. I know some people use propane, but I buy the acetylene in the B tank, the plumber's B tank, and that works good. Anyways, so the whole story, what I wanted to do this was, now this is what we use mostly to cut metal. Well, maybe not you. You can tell your own story, but me, this is my main, that or an electric grinder, and the small disc, the small cutting disc, and where is it? I had the yeah, this is it. This is the big secret here. I have a it's not here though, it's at the farm. son-in-law and daughter's farm. It's a gas saw. I used to have it here, but they need it more on the farm than I do here. Me, it was just sitting here waiting. So I said, I'll bring it down there. They'll make use of it when they need it. I have a metal disc on it, and it's not really a disc. I made a sleeve. It's a disc for a chop saw, and I made a sleeve that fits in the chop saw disc, and it goes. It can go on the saw, but these saws, I don't know the RPM. There's a limit. The chop saw, I'll just say numbers, but they're not accurate. Like the chop saw turns to 6,000 RPM probably, the disc on the chop saw. Well, on the gas saw, 10,000 maybe. So you can when you're rev it up, you can see the disc go like that, and then once you oh, I just thought of something that I'm gonna say on here. I see guys on the net. I see guys, okay, like pretend this is the disc, okay, that you got on the chop saw, and they press, and you can hardly see any sparks coming out, That's because what happens then is the face of your disc has glazed up, okay? Because the metal we get nowadays is some parts it's real hard and some parts it's soft. So if you get into a real hard chunk like hardened steel, then your disc has a hard time cutting through it, and it'll glaze your disc. Once it's glazed up, it doesn't catch anymore. All it does is spins, and you'll just see little sparks, but it's not cutting and it's not going nowhere. You know what you do? Take a file. Funny, I have everything handy here, Take a file and you just make harder than that. There's nothing wrong with this disc. You just make like maybe 5-6 shots like that. Okay, you don't even take it off the chop saw, and then you try it again, and you'll see it's going to start to cut again. And then once it starts making a new face on your disc, it's going to cut a lot better. That's just that's today's tip. Anyways, I hope it didn't bore you. It was more or less like I seen, like I was probably born before a lot of you guys were, and then the 60s. I seen using stuff that today you'd find it very primitive to be using. So you be thankful that we have what we have today, And I could get the newer stuff, but hey, I could have the garage can't be much more full than it is. So, but I could have a plasma cutter, but I wouldn't use it. For the rest of my life. I wouldn't need it. I have torches, okay? If the hook becomes the crook. And then I got the grinders. With that, I got enough. Okay, enough said. Enjoyed doing this, and I hope yous we're getting on in the winter, And come on, spring. Okay, like usual, the better ones, they're ahead. When we look behind, the better ones are surely ahead. And comments are welcome. Try to give non-generic answers, and we'll see you in the next one.
Don't go to eat, and don't play with yourself. Wouldn't look nice on my highway.